I want to see a show of hands. How many of you believe that Americans have a right to privacy when they are in the virtual space? Raise your hand. All of you do. How many of you believe that should be a protected and constitutional right? Awesome. All of you do. Okay. When we're talking about privacy, and that extends to the individual, do each of you agree that your PII is your virtual you and you online? Raise your hands. Okay, Mr. DeVries, you're a little slow on the uptake there. Do you have a disagreement with that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, who owns the virtual you?
Ma'am, your personal information is your information, and that's something that's core to my beliefs.
So you would agree that the individual owns their virtual presence online? Is there anybody on the panel that disagrees with that? You know, I find it so amazing as we have worked on this issue through the years, the issue of privacy, of data security, of intellectual property protection, that one of the things that is fascinating is many of the tech companies, or the FANGs, they have built their net worth off of individuals' information. And Mr. DeVries, while you say you don't sell that information, pardon me, going back to Senator Kennedy's remark, basically what you have done is to coalesce that information and that tracking, and then you have built the essence of that individual online. Do you agree with that?
Senator, we do try hard in order to provide value back to the user to understand.
You didn't answer.
Yes.
Pardon me. You're not answering the question. Let me go to this. On a Google operating system, on the Android phones, we'll go back to Senator Hawley's question. I have seen these phones, and I want you to tell me if this is correct or not. If you take that Android mobile device and you pull the SIM card and that device is turned off, then when you turn that phone back on, it will download every single base station that you have passed. That the tracking is embedded in the hardware, and it is always tracking you. And there is no way for that device to not be tracking you. And Senator Durbin even mentioned, it will tell you if you're walking or if you're riding. If you're in a building based on the barometric pressure, it will tell you what floor you're on and what side of the building you're on. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator, I understand there's lots
that
of
is
sensitive
correct.
data that's
Okay. I think that's fascinating. And see, most Americans would not see that as being information that you are entitled to. Because going back to what Senator Kennedy said, then you are saying you own the virtual you. Would you not agree with that?
No, Senator, that's not how I conceive of it.
You wouldn't agree with that. Then that is amazing to me. You could know everything about somebody and everywhere, and you hold that information, and the individual doesn't hold it. Let's move on to what you're doing with Chromebooks and the operating system there. Now, the reason SATs are not as relevant is probably because what you all are doing when those children are doing those assignments online, you're recording all of that. Is that not correct? And then you're also looking at the sites they go to and using that to maybe not put ads back on that laptop that is in the school, but selling that to advertisers of the parents that are in that community. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. We do not use any of the data that we collect via these education products that we offer.
How do you build a profile on the students?
We don't try to build a profile.
You don't. Mr. Hoffman, how do they build that profile on those students?
I'm not an expert on their services and how their products operate.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. How many of you support having congressionally passed privacy legislation? Raise your hands. All of you do. How many of you think that we should give the FTC the authority to oversee you and to put rules of the road in place to allow people to choose to opt in rather than assuming it is going to be an opt-out? How many of you favor that? No one favors giving consumers the ability to opt in.
I favor the ability for consumers to provide an opt-in. I just believe that the regulation needs to go beyond that because it's necessary but not sufficient.
Okay, I appreciate that. My time has expired, but I will tell you, I think the reason you do not want to have opt-in is because it would change your business model and it would diminish your profits. Yield back, Ms.